You're lying in bed at 2 in the morning, scrolling through your phone, and a thought crosses your mind. I should really go to sleep. But you don't. You keep scrolling. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you're making tomorrow harder. You know you'll regret this. And yet, your thumb keeps moving. This isn't about willpower. It's about something far stranger happening in your brain. People who don't take care of themselves aren't missing information. They know vegetables are healthier than fast food. They know sleep matters. They know they should drink water, move their bodies, go to the doctor, answer that text from their friend. The knowledge is there. What's missing is something else entirely. The human brain has a threat detection system that evolved over millions of years to keep you alive. When your ancestors encountered a predator, this system made split-second decisions: run, fight, or freeze. That same system is still active, but it's responding to different threats now. And one of the things it's learned to label as threatening is vulnerability. Taking care of yourself requires admitting you have needs. It requires acknowledging that you're not invincible, not self-sufficient, not perfectly fine on your own. For some people, that admission feels more dangerous than the actual neglect. Think about what happens when someone suggests you should see a therapist or a doctor or take a day off. There's often a reflexive response: I'm fine, even when you're clearly not fine, even when you're running on empty. Because saying you need help often means crossing a threshold that feels insurmountable, and this goes back further than you'd think. Children learn early on what's safe to need. In families where needs were met with warmth and consistency, children grow up understanding that needing things is normal, human, acceptable. But in families where needs were ignored, minimized, or met with frustration, children learn something different. They learn that their needs are burdens, that asking for care is risky, that it's safer to need nothing at all. These children become adults who can advocate fiercely for others, but can't book themselves a simple appointment, who can work through pain, exhaustion, hunger, because somewhere along the way, they learned that their own discomfort doesn't warrant attention. The body sends signals, clear and urgent, and they've trained themselves not to listen. What makes this particularly complex is that self-neglect often looks like strength from the outside. The person who never complains, never asks for help, always says yes to extra work. They're seen as resilient, capable, low maintenance, and there's a reward in that perception. It feels safer than the alternative, which is being seen as needy, weak, or broken. So the neglect continues, disguised as independence. There's also a cognitive phenomenon at play that most people don't recognize. When you're operating in a state of chronic depletion, your brain starts to normalize it. The exhaustion becomes baseline. The hunger becomes background noise. The pain becomes something you barely notice. You lose the ability to recognize how poorly you're actually functioning because you have nothing to compare it to. It's like someone slowly turning down the volume on your life until you're living at 30% capacity and can't remember what 100% felt like. The brain also does something insidious with time. When you're depleted, the future becomes abstract. You know intellectually that skipping sleep tonight will make tomorrow harder, but tomorrow doesn't feel real. It's just a concept. Right now is what's real, and right now, scrolling your phone feels easier than confronting the fact that you need rest. This is called temporal discounting, and it's why people who neglect themselves often know exactly what they should do but can't seem to do it. The immediate comfort of avoidance outweighs the distant benefit of care. Then there's the shame spiral. Once you've been neglecting yourself for long enough, the thought of starting to take care of yourself becomes overwhelming. It's not just one appointment you've missed, it's years of them. It's not just one unhealthy habit, it's a lifestyle. The gap between where you are and where you think you should be feels so vast that even thinking about closing it triggers a wave of shame. So you don't think about it, you push it down, you distract yourself, and the cycle deepens. What's fascinating is that self-neglect often coexists with perfectionism. People who struggle with self-care frequently have impossibly high standards in other areas of their lives. They'll redo a work project 5 times to get it perfect, but they won't take 10 minutes to eat lunch. They'll stay up all night helping a friend, but they won't schedule their own therapy appointment. This isn't a contradiction, it's a compensation. When you don't feel inherently worthy of care, you try to earn it through performance, through being useful, productive, helpful to others. Your value becomes contingent on what you do for everyone else, and taking time for yourself feels like stealing from that productivity. The nervous system learns to associate self-care with guilt. There's also a protective element to self-neglect that sounds counterintuitive. For some people, staying in a state of dysfunction serves as a buffer against higher expectations. If you're barely holding it together, people don't ask more of you. You don't have to confront bigger challenges. The neglect becomes a way of staying small, staying safe, avoiding the vulnerability of actually trying and potentially failing. It's a form of control in a life that feels uncontrollable. And underneath all of this is often a deeply held belief that gets reinforced every day through small choices, that other people's needs are more legitimate than your own, that your pain isn't that bad, that you can handle it, that asking for what you need is selfish or dramatic or weak. These beliefs don't announce themselves, they operate quietly beneath conscious awareness, shaping every decision about whether you're worth the effort of care. So what do you do with all of this? How do you break a pattern that's wired this deep? The answer isn't what most people expect. It's not about discipline or motivation or trying harder. It's about starting so small that your threat detection system doesn't activate. One glass of water, one full breath, one night where you go to bed 10 minutes earlier. The goal isn't transformation, it's signal sending. You're teaching your nervous system that taking care of yourself isn't dangerous, that you can have needs and survive. That care doesn't require earning or justifying. You start by noticing without judgment. When you skip a meal, you simply notice. When you ignore pain, you acknowledge it. You're not trying to fix anything yet. You're just practicing awareness, rebuilding the connection between your body's signals and your conscious mind. And then, when you're ready, you do one small thing, not because you have to, not because you should, but because you're worth the effort, even if you don't believe that yet. The pattern that took years to build won't dissolve overnight, but it will shift slowly, one tiny choice at a time, until taking care of yourself stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like something simpler, like coming home.